The word route has several meanings. In a direct sense, it's the means of transport. For example, the road railroad or naval way, and in a figurative sense, the word route refers to the course of history, the process, the direction. Hello, my name is Daniyar Batirbayev, and this is the program Route to the Future. The road of 1,000 miles begins with the first step, as the Chinese saying goes. The project Western Europe, Western China can be considered as the first step to the application of the national strategy Nurly Zhol, Route to the Future, for Kazakhstan. This title of this international motor corridor sounded in April of the year 2007 for the first time in the decree of Kazakhstan's president. And 2 years later, the project's realization began on the territory of the Republic. Pay attention that this happened in the year 2009, when the world economy was at crossroads due to the global crisis. Such projects as the construction of the international motorway, Western Europe, Western China, form part of the class of the beating actions. Their significance has normally come to light post factum when they become the logical link of new multimodal initiatives. The same happened within this project. It became the convincing prologue not only to the national strategy Nurly Zhol, Route to the Future, but also in the global conception of China, economic belt of the Silk Route. We are one of the first people to support this initiative, and we are ready to contribute our own might. Specifically, our first project on the way to the Silk Route is the construction of Kazakhstan's area of the main line, Western Europe, Western China. This project promises dividends to states which, according to many factors, geographic, resource, production, finally strategic, are interested in the new markets. Of course, first of all, we are talking about China. The Celestial Empire, thanks to the project Western Europe, Western China, on the one hand opens up an external window for the trans-Chinese motorway. On the other hand, it creates additional conditions for the disclosure of the economic potential of its region, which borders with Kazakhstan and doesn't have open access to the sea. The expansion of transport corridors in the western direction creates wonderful opportunities for the exchange of experience and cooperation of China with the countries which are located along the belt of the Silk Route. This particularly concerns Xinjiang, the key region of the economic belt. Russia's the participation of the project Western Europe, Western China will also receive its own benefit for the construction of the area of the international motor corridor. The density of the federal network of roads and at least will increase on its own territory, and 8 central and western regions will acquire a good incentive for their economic growth. That Silk Route, which we are speaking about, the movement of the products from China to Europe through Kazakhstan and Russia, well, this route is important for you and for us as well. For Kazakhstan, the project Western Europe, Western China is topical in all senses. It creates optimal conditions for China to diversify the cargo transportation for the sake of automobile transit. Time is money, and it is difficult to contest against this argument. The cargo from China to Europe is transported in the course of 45 days navally, along the Trans-Siberian Motor Corridor in 15 days, and along the motorway Western Europe, Western China only in 10 days. European countries saw this significant difference as a matter of fact, as they did with the perspectives which open up to Kazakhstan. Let's see the new route from Western China to Western Europe, where Kazakhstan plays an even bigger role. It is as if we are ready to provide our services.
It's recognizing the flow of trade between China and Western Europe and making Kazakhstan an important part of that trade.
The following facts reveal Western Europe's interest in the transit motor corridor. In the year 2009, the European Commission and Ministry of Transport and Communications of the Republic of Kazakhstan signed a memorandum about the mutual understanding of the development area of transport systems. Besides, the European Bank of Reconstruction and Development performed in the form of one of the international financial sources of this project.
Particularly exciting for EBRD are the opportunities in infrastructure development, along with the Silk Route policy and the new development of the West China to Western Europe. This has opened up a lot of opportunities for construction building materials, logistics, and associated businesses.
In line with EBRD, 4 international financial institutes provided the external loans for the construction of Kazakhstan's international motorway: the Worldwide Bank, Islamic and Asian banks, the Japanese Agency of International Cooperation. Incidentally, all of the projects, the realization of which loans of international financial institutes were attracted, are realized in line with their developed rules and standard type agreements. The choice of contractors is realized according to the demands of the bank's donors, i.e. not only did foreign companies participate in the tenders, but also Kazakhstan companies took part in them. For example, the company BI Group ended up in the number of Kazakhstan's contracted organizations with which the Asian Development Bank cooperated. The construction of roads was realized with its participation in the Jumble area.
We practically
learned to work on the same level as international companies. The technical control took care of the Australian company of the international company. We handed in the financial documentation and accounts to Manila. Next in the program, Western Europe, Western China, key geographical points. China, Lianyungang, the Asian part of the motorway, takes its beginning from this seaport, which is located on the shores of the Yellow Sea. The Chinese main line in this project is the longest, 3,425 kilometers, and it's practically built. The speed motorway goes through the route Lianyungang, Zhengzhou, Lanzhou, Urumqi, Khorgos, and Kazakhstan's border. The motor corridor opens its eastern window to the border between Kazakhstan and China. Today, the largest trade logistical hub in Central Asia, Special Economic Zone Khorgos. Eastern Gates is forming here. The west and east symbolically come together at this place. And from here, along Kazakhstan's territory, not only automobile, but also railroad paths disperse. This transport junction provides cargo delivery in the direction east-west and in the direction of the countries of Central Asia. Considering the expansion of the movement intensity in this area towards the year 2017, they will open up a new border control point, Nurly Zhol. And today, the human transport flows here pass through the largest CHP in Kazakhstan, Khorgos.
У нас имеются 5 отделов пограничного контроля. Это
We have 5 departments of border control. This is the Border Control Passenger Department, and where the admission of individuals across the country's border with China is realized. The Department of the ICBC Control, the Department of Border Railroad Control Altyn-Kol, and Koldzhat, the freight direction.
Altyn-Kol, железнодорожная, и Koldzhat.
The wide specter of control is dictated not only by the expansion of cargo flows, but by the project's perspectives. The transit hub. Its main components are the multimodal transport flows, the international center of the border cooperation, and the Special Economic Zone Khorgos Eastern Gates. In its own turn, the SEZ had its own components. It's the dry port, the industrial and logistical zones. Russia, St. Petersburg. Here a northern window is opening up and starting the European vector of the outer corridor. The length of the Russian area is 2,333 kilometers. The transit runs through the route St. Petersburg, Moscow, Vladimir, Nizhny Novgorod, Cheboksary, Kazan, Orenburg, and the border with Kazakhstan. At this foundation of this version is the active federal network, taking into account the new speed paid automobile roads. Separate areas of the international motorway in Russia will be launched in the year 2018. The entire Russian transit will be ready only by the year 2023. Aktubinski district, the border control Martuk Point, the place where Russia will pass on the relay of the motor corridor to Kazakhstan. Here, the western gates of the Republic are identified according to the project Western Europe, Western China. Within the memorandum already signed in the year 2008 between ministries of Kazakhstan and Russia, the supervisors of the transport and communication issues were planning that the transit flows from China in the direction of Western Europe will pass through the CHP Martuk and later follow the territory of the Russia's Orenburg district. But for the time being, the main movement is realized via Uralsk, Kazakhstan, in the direction of Samara, Russia. It is highly important for us that the Russian side supports this project, and in its own part of the automobile road, it also leads to the compliance with the necessary standards in order for this cargo to be delivered as transit via Russia. Next in the program, Motor Corridor Western Europe, Western China, Kazakhstan's route and its particularities. The international motorway Western Europe, Western China passes through 5 districts of the Republic: Akhtubinsk, Kizlodarda, southern Kazakhstan, Zhombul, and Almaty. 4,600,000 people live on this territory. It's more than 30% of the country's total population. This indicator is quite substantial. No less impressive is the distance of Kazakhstan's area, 2,452 kilometers. From them, 1,390 kilometers form part of the road of the first technical category. The remaining 1,062 kilometers form part of the second category. From the border of the Chinese National Republic up until Kizlodarda, our road will be in the first category with 4-lane traffic. From Kizlodarda to the border of the Russian Federation is the second category. There will be 2-lane traffic there. Apart from that, detours for dangerous mountain passes in the southern Kazakhstan and Zhombul districts have been provisioned for. For example, before drivers who headed towards the direction of Shymkent were induced to drive through the Korodaisky Pass. This place was considered as an area of heightened danger. A technical economic substantiation was developed on the basis of which the project estimated documentation was developed. Here was taken into account to, first of all, provide for traffic safety. Apart from the necessary elements of modern roads such as bridges, junctions, overpasses, aqueducts in some areas, the construction of difficult engineering constructions were provisioned. For example, in the southern Kazakhstan district in the mountainous regions, a tunnel was constructed. For Kazakhstan's railroad construction sector, this is the first experience.
In the world, there are only 2 main tunnel excavation methods. First, drill and blast method, and second,
there are 2 methods of laying out tunnels in the world: blasting and with the help of the tunnel boring machine. Here we use the blasting method, seeing that the length of this tunnel isn't great.
We prefer this method because the length of this tunnel is very short.
Specialists calculated that the amount of materials needed for Kazakhstan for the reconstruction and building of roads within the project Western Europe, Western China. The numbers as they turn out like this: 17 million cubic meters of ballast, more than 14 million cubic meters of sand-gravel mixture, 539,000 tons of bitumen, 3 million tons of cement, 500,000 cubic meters of concrete metal products. Even prognostic calculations say that the productions which release the road construction materials can receive stable orders within the project Western Europe, Western China. Incidentally, the development perspectives of the development of the road construction branch opened up the route to new productions. For example, in the year 2013, the joint venture between Kazakhstan and China for the release of bitumen started working in the city of Oktau. A complete import replacement of bitumen occurred, and we released production of an international example which was required for the internal market and has a large export potential. Next in the program, various items of clothing are needed, different details are important. In order for a person armed with everything to meet a season, he needs to think well what he will wear. For the modern motorway, the choice of road clothing is no less important. Incidentally, its multi-layer construction is called that way, road clothing. During the choice of road clothing for the motor corridor, two main factors were taken into account. The first one is the transport flow. Moreover, the prognostic, which will be observed by the year 2020, when the international motorway will work properly. The second factor which was paid attention to was the availability of high-profile ventures. For example, in the Almaty, Zhombol, and southern Kazakhstan districts, there are local cement factories. At the same time, in these regions, two conditions coincided at once: the traffic intensity plus the provision of road construction materials. That's why during the construction of the main line, a concrete cement covering was used. As a whole, 1,079 kilometers of these kinds of roads will be constructed within the motor corridor. The remaining 1,073 kilometers consist of concrete asphalt. Next in the program, when the stop is more important than the movement, and where the transit route leads. When a person spends several hours behind the wheel on a distant route, his strongest wish is to stop somewhere and rest. You must agree that road comfort for a driver provides not only high motorway quality, but also a high level of roadside service. Within the construction of the main line Western Europe, Western China, hundreds of ventures of small and medium businesses in the regions get a carte blanche for the participation in projects for the organization of roadside service. The main condition is the compliance with standard type requirements. Depending on the level of objects, three categories are determined. Category C, service station, filling station, overpass, trade point enter this category. Category B, service station, filling station, overpass, motel, information point, cafe, car park for truck transportation, trade points.
Буквально вчера открыли один объект придорожного сервиса.
Literally yesterday, they opened one railroad service site at the territory of the Sirdarya district near the Aul Akhjarma of the B category. Many entrepreneurs are interested in the development of railroad service. They really understand that the potential in the given business is great.
Огромен данный бизнес.
In the A category complex, apart from basic sites, the Hotel and Tourist Service Bureau with a full package of services, including the developed route and holiday place. The main condition is that the sites of the A category must be located near the historical cultural monuments or natural landmarks. On the map of the ancient caravan path, Great Silk Route, populated points such as Yassi, Isfijab, Taraz were identified, and a whole constellation of middle-aged cities, the remnants of which were preserved on the territory of modern Kazakhstan. Through the idea, New Silk Route within the specific project Western Europe, Western China, a unique possibility arises to unify the interests of the region and of the whole tourist branch in Kazakhstan into one communal circle. The new infrastructural framework creates a favorable climate for Kazakhstan's tourism, for the inflow of tourists and the attraction of investments. Today, in the Republic's regions, where the motor corridor passes, the local authorities and tourist agencies actively conduct presentations and informative tours.
Что уже сделано, я думаю, вполне может быть пригодно для.
This is what has been done already. I think it can be fully suitable for the creation of this flow. I recently went to Taraz and I saw that so much is done there, that a tourist would go there. You must teach people, would be able to create this atmosphere of popularity of those incredible places which Kazakhstan possesses.
Мест, которыми обладает Казахстан.
The center of Eurasia, the middle of the intercontinental transit, the key logistic junction where overland freight is allocated in the direction of Western Europe, Western China. These basic factors blend quite logically into the system of three important indicators which support Kazakhstan today. The project Western Europe, Western China became not only the benchmark for the construction and modernization of the Token main line. This project gave the possibility to evaluate the entire transport logistic potential of the Republic in order to see as a result how and with the help of what Kazakhstan must build its way into the future. Danyar Batirbayev was with you. See you soon on the route which opens up new possibilities for Kazakhstan.